looking for land for the college in specific, there's got to be some interesting decision making and suggestions and all. How did you land this property?
Well, it came rather easily for us because this property was offered to us for $25,000. Mm-hmm. The amount that the insurance company had paid, they said they didn't want to make any money on it. They were just wanted their money out of it. So we agreed, find in the board minutes that we agreed to that price to purchase the property.
Right.
But it happens that George Davis, the vice president of the insurance company, lived up on my street. He came by on his motorcycle one morning, and we were talking about it. And I told him, George, if you gave us the property, maybe you could save enough on it taxes. And he says, I'll come back to you. Few hours later, he called back and said they were interested in giving it to us. And so they gave us the property.
So it was your kind of understanding of the taxes.
Well, yeah.
That kind of spurred him on.
George Davis did the job, yeah.
I'm glad you know things in other fields other than your immediate field, because I think obviously that's part of how decisions can get made for the good of the larger group. Well, that's great. So now we get located here at the present campus, and this had to have meant that a lot of growth started to occur in the college too, huh?
Well, the college grew very fast once we got the campus established up here.
So mid-60s or so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
66, I think it was, we moved up here.
Right, so that 1966 on,
yeah.
The first buildings that we had located here were what is now the administration building, maybe?
We had 7 buildings built originally.
Okay. What were those buildings?
Well, the last 2 buildings added on were the only 2 that have been added, Dear Love and the Scoville.
So the initial building project was the administration building, the gym?
Gym, yeah.
Eisenhart Hall?
Eisenhart. Well, it wasn't Eisenhart then. We named that later.
Oh, you did?
It was a classroom building then.
Just classroom building?
The library and the science building.
Okay.
And the auditorium. And the auditorium had to be a classroom. So.
Oh, that's right.
It's never built for an auditorium.
Yeah. So those buildings constituted the beginning.
Yeah.
And so by 1966, the students who were down there in Hudson Falls all moved up to the campus on Bay Road, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
I find that an absolutely amazing story because it shows the commitment, your commitment, but obviously yours and a number of other people who were so instrumental in making that happen.
Well, there are many people in the community here who are fully committed to it. Yeah.
Having a personal vision is one thing, but having a vision that can be shared by a much larger group of people, some good things can happen, and obviously have. Well, you folk chose a president early on. The trustees had to meet and figure out who was going to move this college ahead. Can you tell us anything about that?
Yes, we went through the normal procedure set up by the state for soliciting presidential candidates, and we had a lot of candidates approved, approached us. And after we had gone through the list, the trustees did going through the notes, and we came down to one final decision of three possibilities. I think I don't remember for sure, but I think one of those dropped out. So I think maybe we came down to 2 final, and Dr. Eisenhart was the one we chose. There was one cold night in January that we met with him at the Queensbury Hotel, and he agreed right at then and there he would take the job. I asked his wife a couple of weeks ago when I was talking to her, how come he made the decision without talking to you? And he said, well, he was so sure he wanted the job that.
And I'm sure, for the sake of all, that was pretty important that he make.
Well, he did a good job of organizing the liberal arts college.
Uh-huh.
In fact, he's a liberal arts man, and so we had to look for more industrial leaning from that, and that's when we went to Blank later.
So he was he had a military background, correct?
I believe he did. I'm not sure.
And so out of that, he brought a richer.
You're thinking of Blank. Blank had a military background.
Okay.
Yeah. No. Charles Eisenhart was a teacher.
Okay. And so he had a liberal arts orientation.
Yeah.
He came into this school and helped to create a kind of foundation for that.
Yeah.
And but obviously you folk had concerns about businesses and industry having students who could be educated to move into positions there too.
Well, the community college setup by state recommendations was to include industrial and one-year courses.
Right.
Such as we have now.
And so that kind of commitment wound up creating a college that had a liberal arts and programs for practical application, students moving into jobs immediately.
When Dr. Eisenhart retired, we had to get a new president, and when we got applications for that, the board felt that pretty much we wanted somebody who had a good experience in industrial. And Dr. Blank was the president of the college down in South Carolina for 10 years. And his job was to build up an industrial college down there, because he had 3 big hospitals right adjacent to the college, and he had to train people for those hospitals. And so we brought in the experience of training for industrial or other work than academic from that standpoint. And so that's the reason we hired him at that time.
And then that helped to balance the
out.
direction
Yeah.
of the college,
Yeah.
you felt.